And if you have a client online that is really like you feel like needs that interpersonal connection, you might actually want to say to them like, hey, you'd actually be better having a coach in person. Whether that's you or whether that's somebody else, right? The people who really thrive, there's the people who thrive in online coaching. This isn't even just fitness, but the people who thrive in online coaching are people who do a really good job of picking their customers carefully. And the better you do that, the more success you're going to have.
This is the Online Trainer Show, Trainer Show, Trainer Show. This is the Online Trainer Show. We shouldn't have a podcast.
So, Jonathan, you're remarkably disheveled today. Would you like to share with the audience how fatherhood feels this morning?
Oh my goodness.
We'd love to hear from you.
My kid is 4. He's 4. Why the heck does he not sleep? What is wrong with you, kid? You're
just
4
for show
years old.
content.
Melatonin, my friend, makes it big.
Oh my god. It's not even, he just, ugh.
Put him on the Benadryl drip. That's what he needs. That's what he needs.
So we have this ongoing joke that in Mexican families, because we are big on parties, right? So whenever there's like a wedding or a quinceañera, somebody's birthday party, someone's anniversary, doesn't matter. The whole family shows up, and then it's like 3, 4, 6 in the morning. Who cares? Because the kids, you just kind of like put chairs together, and then it's all the little toddlers and babies like sleeping, and the music is blasting, and everybody's still dancing and everything. So it's like, that's the ongoing thing. It's like Mexican kids can sleep through anything because we're trained from a young age to not be disturbed. And it's true. I swear to God, my kids are so great.
I love
Calvin
that.
can sleep through anything. He just, he wakes up, and if we're home, he slept at my mother and father-in-law's last week, just on, I don't know what night it was, Friday, Saturday night or something. And, slept the entire night through, no problem, not a peep. It's just when he's home, he wakes up, and, I mean, I'm not saying he wants me, he wants my wife, so he'll just, he was outside of our door last night for an hour and a half at 3 in the morning. And it was funny because he was going through, every little thing. The kid is a manipulator like me. And so he was just going through every little, I'm scared. I have something silly. You want to see it? To, everything he was trying to do.
All the tricks in the book. All the charm. All the tears. All the everything.
Super polite. Please, Mommy, can you please come to my room with me? He was going through everything in the book. Oh, man. I think in an hour and a half he said my name twice.
It's all about mom.
Right. You were shot in the wind. You was just grasping at straws saying your name, Jonathan. Maybe.
I'm so irrelevant in my child's mind.
Hail Mary pass, I'll try dad next time. All right, back to mom. That's all.
What it was.
I might toss the ball to dad.
I'm the, screw it, I know I'm not going to get that one. Well, this one's better than nothing, I guess. I'm not even sure about that. I'm going to go back to the other one.
Yeah, I'll go back to something else before I say dad. I'll go through the list of 16 items. Once I get to 17, I'll go with that. And then I got a list of 17 more items that I can go through before I have to circle back around to dad again. He's irrelevant, obviously.
But can I tell you what I just did before this call? It's very exciting.
What did you do before this call?
I just mapped out the document for the developer to build the initial prototype for our software.
Nice. Woo! Oh, that's a big freaking deal. Can I feel for the audience members out there listening, you've probably noticed that we've no longer been doing our PT Distinction ads. We ran out of PT Distinction ads a while back. No shade, we love PT Distinction. Awesome group of individuals. We still use it for our online trainer coaching, right? So, no issues there. But what Jonathan in his wisdom and probably 3 other people's idea have realized is that, hey, if we're gonna do all this online rigmarole, this stuff, why not just build something that does it the way that we wish that it did it? So in his infinite wisdom and with great help from Dr. Allison, obviously, Jonathan was able to conceptualize something that will allow us to have sort of our own best app that you could ever have in an entire life on the planet, in the universe.
We simplified. We broke down what the software really needs into its first principles. Basically, ignored everything that was out there and said, okay, we're going to take as much time and money as we need to take to figure out exactly what these things need to do, with the belief that nothing previously exists. We're not building off of anything else. Because to be honest,
Right.
I think most of the software platforms that are out there are way overblown and way more complicated and way too expensive for what the majority of trainers need.
I
And
agree.
so what we've done after 5 months of very intensive product innovation research, we worked with a firm out in Boston, and did a tremendous amount of really, really in-depth testing, like the type of thing where 7 people would be on a phone call for 2 hours just figuring out the audience that we were going to do the next week's test for, to really, really dial in on the problem. And what we've done is we built out a obscenely simple solution that perfectly solves the problem.
Gotcha.
Like easy 80-90% of the problem for trainers. And it's really, really exciting. And so the stage that we're at right now is we're getting a prototype built. It's not going to go to our audience like all of the other testing that we've done. The people that we're putting this out to don't know who we are. And we select the audience very, very carefully. And we select the audience through a whole bunch of sources that you can use, where you basically can select people who are obviously personal trainers who meet certain guidelines that are kind of our perceived core audience. But they don't know who we are. They're not our audience. They're not telling us what we want to hear. They still don't know, even when they finish the test, who we are, right? Everything is blind.
Right.
And once we finish the prototype, if it's good, if the results are good, then we will begin a waitlist process and begin building out the minimum viable product, letting people into it, letting people play around with it, and then starting to put it out into the world. So it's really exciting to get to this step. It's been a lot of time coming. This is actually a concept that I had 4 or 5 years ago that I really thought needed to be in place for our industry, and we just never really got around to building it. Now we've got the team and the resources too, so it's exciting.
Right. I love it.
That's amazing.
It sounds phenomenal. So they flipped a coin, chose some random people out of the phone book, sent them a download, and here we are. It's how we do things here at the
more like spent about 40 to 50 hours of people time devising a really, really detailed test. We create like a fake pamphlet, for example, of what the software is going to be and what's going to be involved in it and why it's there, and interview questions, and then we perform an hour and a half interview with another hour debrief, and then another week of debrief calls based off of the 5 or 10 interviews, and then figure out what we learned and what we didn't learn. And it was interesting because there's a lot of things that we learned there, and I won't share them all in case our competitors are listening. But one of some of the really interesting things that we learned is outside of perhaps our immediate bubble of online trainer academy students, right? Basically, nobody uses software.
Right.
It's I mean, really nobody uses. Most people that we found that work in the industry don't use anything. Some people kind of use Google Sheets. Occasionally somebody used like a trainerizer or a PT distinction and basically just did the trial, and never got anywhere with it and left it. And then some people do use the software and use it successfully, but it took them a tremendous amount of time to get started on it and get going with it, and they use a tiny fraction of it. If these things do 100 different functions, they use 2 type thing. And so that was really interesting to find out. And we're really excited to build this out. We think it's the type of thing that'll be a real game changer in the industry. I think it will democratize access to software across the industry to people who work both in person and online. And my rule of thumb is I want to build something that doesn't require a single video tutorial to learn how to use it.
Oh, cool.
That'd
Those
be
kill
awesome.
me. I hate those.
Nobody watches them. Literally
Yeah.
nobody watches them. I have actually never in my life watched a video tutorial for how to use software. Occasionally, if I'm trying to do something, I'm already in this. Like, I just go skip all those stupid intro videos. But
Same.
occasionally, what I'll do is, if I'm trying to figure something out, I'll like Google it. In Google, find the FAQ from that like platform, and then
Oh
go
my
and
God.
watch the tutorial on like 2 times speed, because the thing is usually 4 minutes longer than it has to.
Yes, I love it. Like the speed it up. It's like the more they sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks, the
Oh my
better.
God.
Like my brain tingles with excitement at that. It's like make it fast, make it fast, make it fast, make it go.
This explains my role in the company because I'm the exact opposite. I do watch them. So now I figured out the gap.
Yeah.
That's the gap I fill. Got it.
I was about to say the
that's
same
exactly
thing. Like your Catalina, you and John's commentary on this subject is alarming for me. Like I'm just so distraught by everything you said. You got a perfectly good tutorial right there. Just let the thing do what it's supposed to do. No, that's you won't do that, will you? Shame on you both. I don't know if I'll be here Thursday.
There's a lot of
I'm just throwing
there's
that
a
out
lot of there's a lot of issues that are deeply ingrained with how software is built that can't be improved upon with the existing model of software. Like
Gotta
our
knock it down.
platform attacks the problem completely differently, because we realize that you could try to make like an exercise database like a little bit more user friendly. You could try to make building a workout but actually, because of a whole bunch of constraints with how it's done conventionally and how it's been done, and everybody basically copies each other and copies each other and copies each other, you actually can't make it that much better.
Right.
And so what we did is we just innovated on the whole thing. We just broke down the whole thing and started from scratch.
I love this.
So yeah, that's what's up. It's gonna be fun.
You're like the Tony Stark of online training now.
No, completely different. I'm like the Casio watch of online training.
Same.
on our storyboard, so I have like a document that's like a full storyboard of all the pages and stuff like that, and of course this will go to our developers and stuff. But all of the clients' names are different versions of Casio. So it's Cassie .o, and then you have the Japanese version, which is Kaz.io, and they're all different versions of the name Casio.
Yeah. You lost me. I went off the ride now. Thank you very much. This is too much. Well, you like the Bruce Lee then, because Bruce Lee famously took things from each fighting style that he thought were efficient. He got rid of all the inefficiency. That's what Jeet Kune Do was. He took like American boxing for the punching, Japanese karate for the kicking, some taekwondo, some aikido, and he put it all together. And he was a bad man. He was knocking people out. He was the stuff, Bruce Lee, if you're familiar. There was also a movie called I can't remember the name. Oh, what was it called? I can't remember the name of the movie. The Last Dragon. That started. It was done by Motown Records. If you're familiar with Motown, it was the second owner, Barry Gordy. Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon, and there was a Bruce Leroy in that. He was black, and that was good. So you're a cross between Bruce Lee and Bruce Leroy, Jonathan. Is what I'm trying to indicate. You are the Last Dragon. You have the power of the glow. For the audience out there, if you've not rented and or watched The Last Dragon, first of all, you're going to need a Betamax or a VHS to see it. Second, go out today. Rush out to the one Blockbuster that's in your community, the one video rental store that refused to close because they're laundering money for drug dealers. Run out to that video store, grab a copy of The Last Dragon, and treat yourself this weekend to Barry Gordy and Motown's The Last Dragon. It's a wild ride that you'll never forget. Kung Fu in Harlem. afros, and kimonos. You'll love it. The Last Dragon. Let's circle back around to our topic today.
Let's get this going.
Yeah. So
What do we got?
Jonathan doesn't want to be exposed because he's an extra in the movie.
Well, you had such good comments on the topic just before we started recording.
Yeah. But
I
that,
just don't want to miss them all.
we don't do that on the show, Jonathan. That's just for us to talk
We
about.
add value. No, we add value. We wake up in the morning, and the first thing we do before we piss, before we throw water on our face, we just say, "How can I add value to people today?" That's what we do.
Look on Amber's face right now.
When I woke up this morning, all that I could think about was I just want to add value to listeners of the Ellen Turner Show today.
Lies, Jonathan, because you never slept. In any case, let's move this thing along. We're about to add some crazy value. So what we wanted to talk about today is the difference between the online space and the in-person space. Amber and I had a discussion amongst ourselves for the group today about what our topic would be. And since we're both Online Trainer Academy mentors, this is something that we run into quite often, the gift and curse of having a lot of in-person experience before you come to the online space. And those folks are typically of the mindset of, you kids get off my lawn when we get them. They're sort of really fixated on what they've done. Well, I've always worked with everybody. Well, I've always... And I know Amber and I probably both have a lot of push-pull, gentle guidance with those clients to help them understand why we're asking them to do the things in the online space that are somewhat counterintuitive to what they expect. So a couple of things that we thought about right off the bat. Sort of number one is, the difference between working in giving your time for money versus a result. Which is what you end up with in the online space. You're not really doing time for money because, Jonathan, we immediately feel like we need to discount heavily because now it's online. I can't, I'm only spending 30 minutes a week, engaging with a client maybe. So I can't possibly ask for a price that's worth my expertise. You gave us a great story about the locksmith a couple of episodes ago. And him doing something so simply that people felt like he should undercharge. Can you speak to that?
Let me add some value here. Yeah, let me add some value.
You wake up in the morning and you pee value into the toilet, Jonathan. Just add all the value that you want to. You can't help it. You can't help it.
Add some value.
It's a value machine. Value. Value machine. Just a value machine. Your job is to turn me on. So add some value here, John.
We're waiting.
The most important thing to remember is that different people are different, and different people need different things. And the reason why you're providing a service as a personal trainer is different for different people.
Right.
And in-person clients, I mean, we can be very superficial and say, yeah, everybody goes to a trainer to get physical results. But the reality of it is that's simply not true. That might be kind of what they're saying, but they go there for a whole variety of reasons. And the reason that somebody uses a coach can be a whole bunch of different reasons. And in-person training is largely about making somebody feel good when they're there. Mm-hmm. Results are very important, don't get me wrong. Like in-person training, you should probably still sell a transformation. You're going to have more success with that. But most people don't, because the benefits that you're providing to somebody who's there with you in terms of communication, in terms of empathy, in terms of just being their friend, being their coach, like what you can do for somebody in person is much harder to do for them online. It's harder to replicate. So the type of people that are attracted to in-person training are kind of looking for different things often than the people who are attracted to online training, which means that you have to understand that the value that you are, talking about value today. The value that you're providing to people is going to be different depending on the medium that you are delivering it in, because the people who choose that medium are going to be looking for different things. Right. So online, it becomes very, very important to deliver transformations. Whereas in person, yeah, of course, like transformations are always easier to sell. Selling what somebody will become as a result of your coaching is going to always be an easier sell. But the reality of it is a lot of what you're giving them is what you're going to be physically giving them in person. and how that makes them feel. Whereas online, it's less about how that makes them feel because you just simply can't do as much. And the stuff that you can do, if you were to do it, just takes so much time that you can't do it to many people. And you actually have to charge more for it. So that's a major, major, major difference right there, is just understanding like where people are coming from. And if you have a client online that is really like you feel like needs that interpersonal connection, you might actually want to say to them like, hey, you'd actually be better having a coach in person. Whether that's you or whether that's somebody else, right? The people who really thrive, there's the people who thrive in online coaching. This isn't even just fitness, but the people who thrive in online coaching are people who do a really good job of picking their customers carefully. And the better you do that, the more success you're going to have.
That makes sense. So
Value.
I'm gonna tell you where I got that from, and then I'm gonna send you guys the link after the show. But in any case, so Keto, you have a similar background as I do in terms of the fact that we came from an in-person space. We both didn't have a gym. You know, we were going sometimes in the park, sometimes I was going into people's homes. You know, how was it a challenge for you to turn your brain over from the spending my time for earning money per hour to spending my time to get people a result? And did you have a challenge with your pricing because of that? Did you inherently believe, oh, this should be much, much cheaper because I'm not right in front of them? Like what was your come up like?
So for me, that process, actually, what I realized is that once, like, if you have that chip of discounting your services because, you know, quote unquote, it's online and it can't be as expensive, the reality is that that same mentality is going to rule your business no matter what you do. Because in my very beginning, I was starting to do, for example, my super famous, they became like a thing that women looked forward to every year. I would do boot camps at the park, like on the lake. It's just an open space, no rent for me and everything. But in my head, I was like, well, number one, there's no cost for me. And number two, this is a group class. So this should be cheaper than the usual. So again, like if you have that mentality is going to rule everything you do in your business. So it's better if you kind of catch yourself and stop it. Just stop it. Because whether it's online or in person, you're still going to do that to yourself.
Right.
Not okay.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely had some of that in the beginning. And luckily for me, I think that when I started moving online, because I knew I could tell that online was going to be the way to go in the future, even if it wasn't at that time.
Right.
I started kind of like pricing myself accordingly. Like in the beginning, I did feel like I needed to charge a little bit less because I was learning. Like that's another version of the trap, right? It's like just while I get my practice, and okay, maybe if that's what makes you feel comfortable for starting, but don't limit yourself, because otherwise, like truly, it is a mentality thing and it is going to rule the way that you go about your business forever if you don't catch yourself.
That makes sense. So, Jonathan, can you the definitive answer here? I need you to pick a side here. Like I need you to man up right here, Jonathan. You know, don't ride the fence here. I need you to tell me unequivocally, without question, time for money versus results. Can I charge what I think I deserve as an online coach in the online space, even if I'm spending less time, as long as I'm effective in what I'm getting the client? What's your answer?
Yes.
Okay, good job, Jonathan. Very definitive answer.
Value.
A very manly yep. I imagine him on a horse with a cowboy hat with a long straw in his lips as he took off his hat, looked at me stoically and said, yep, and put his hat back on and rode off into the sunset that is the Personal Training Development Center. You're a cowboy, Jonathan Goodman, or should I say John Wayne. So let's keep it moving. So second thing that we were talking about is you know, this Amber can probably speak to this, although she may refuse to. Amber, do you? Amber's like 50-50. If you don't watch our broadcast, just watch sometimes.
I think the answer to your question is Definitely 100%, maybe some of the time.
Maybe sometimes. If you don't watch our broadcast, watch it sometimes on YouTube, just so you can see what Amber does as we talk through these shows. Because you may hear the comedy, but I can promise you, the real entertainment here is watching Amber's nonverbal responses to what we say on the show. So we get a new coach online, Amber, and they say, well, I worked with everybody. I don't feel comfortable. I don't hear the word I hear a lot is narrow. I don't want to narrow it down to a group of people. Like, have you encountered that, Amber? And what are you? She's like, hell yeah, I encountered it.
I am not confident enough in what I do, and so I'm scared.
Right.
I'm scared that 1 million possible clients is not enough. I need 500 million.
Yeah, I need five. I need all 7 billion people to be in my possible demographic. I've thrown together this USP thing shoddily, just so I can get to the next unit in the certification course. Didn't really give it that much thought, or I overthink it incredibly. Now I'm confused. I don't know what to. So Amber, what are your thoughts? Because this is another thing that we see with the online versus in person. I work with everybody. I don't want to narrow it down. Like, what are your thoughts there, Amber?
I just had an email conversation with someone about this yesterday.
Yeah, I know you did. You're going to have one later today, too.
I'm sure. I mean, it's crap. Because we have all had clients who are like, oh my God, this is the longest hour of my week. So no, don't help everyone. Like, there is a particular type of client that you wish you had 1,000 of. Right. Can you help a lot of people? Yeah, sure. But like, is it your favorite? And is it where you shine best? There's probably a particular subset that works for you. I think the problem is that we get too bogged down in like, is it men or women or a certain age, or, they're so focused on particular boxes that they kind of miss the forest for the trees. Mm-hmm. It could be a life situation, a culture, it could be a hobby. It could be all sorts of things. They almost make a very simple thing too hard. And they feel like it's gonna be written in stone. Like this is something that evolves. Mine's changed or adjusted at least 6 times in almost 4 years. Just as you just need it to be clear enough when you start to give you direction, and then you listen and you'll evolve, your business. And that's part of business. You're not going to knock it out of the park at the beginning. You're just not. But yeah, and it's a lot of what John said too.
So what you're saying, if I'm understanding correctly, is that you decide and then you actually pay attention to the people that you're working with. Like, they talk and you actually listen to what they say?
Yeah, it requires active listening skills.
That's crazy.
Much too radical
right
for me.
There.
Yeah, I don't like to saying this on air, but you're batshit crazy.
Why would you ever actually listen to somebody when you have something yourself to say?
Right, like I didn't even hear what Jonathan said, but I saw his mouth moving because I was too concerned with what I was about to say next.
All that I'm thinking about whenever anybody's speaking is what I'm going to say next to feel like I look smart to them.
Yeah, I feel the same as what you probably said, although I wasn't listening intently, so I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it was about you because what I have to say is about me. So making the rounds here of this expert panel that we have today.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
It's good that we have our own podcast and we can call ourselves experts.
Right. Cool. You can call yourself anything. These subject matter experts that we have for the podcast today. Can
we make a note that somebody named us the #1 podcast of the top 20 fitness podcasts?
You didn't see that?
Is that a joke?
Yes. What was that? I saw that, Ren. You tagged me in it. That was cute.
It's some website that's
like
it's not like an official source. Like no official source.
But it's a list, and we're #1. So
and that's all that matters. That's all that matters.
It's a list,
and we didn't have to pay for it either.
We didn't have to pay for it. So there.
To be honest, like you say, you jest, Amber, but like most of those lists are things that you pay for.
That's why I said it.
It's like, it's like, Jonathan, it's like that scene in Coming to America where he cuts his princely lock off when he cuts off his ponytail.
Yeah.
He's like, what would you like? Oh, I'd like to be #1. And he cuts it. He's like, that'd be $8. That's what they're like. They're like, hey, we're thinking about putting together a list of the top online trainers in the continental United States. And your name came up. Okay, I'm really interested. Okay, that'll be $3,000. No, thank you. Hard pass. But the question that I was leading to for Jonathan and Carol is, Jonathan, I think that you said this one time. I don't know if I'm making this up in my head, but I tell it to the online students, so they think you said it now. So it's too late to stop it. But what
a lot of people who repeat my words in a lot of ways, and I don't know.
Right.
It gets to a point, like, I'm not even, like, particular. I mean, outside of, like, our little bubble, I'm not well known at all. And even inside our little bubble, I don't feel like I'm particularly well known. But, like, I've said some things that other people repeat, right? And it's amazing. It's amazing just how many people take and transmute and convert and take ownership of your words. Like, it happens so much.
90% of my job at this point.
It's funny how that happens.
Taking your words and twisting them and then saying, that's what Jonathan told me.
So what were Jonathan's alleged words?
So I don't know if he said this, but it's made sense, and that it works with clients. Sort of that when you're in the in-person space, your USP is actually geography, proximity. And you just sort of don't realize it. You don't train everybody. You train everybody who is blank kilometers away from Studio Gym X in blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, a lot of trainers have grown a false sense of confidence, or a false sense of mastery over their ability to market and get clients. They think that because they were able to have some success in person, that'll obviously translate online, not recognizing that's a totally different game. In person, you have location bias to your advantage, unless you live in a highly dense city. The reality of it is, you might be the only place that's close enough for people to come to regularly. Like, people generally will never, in aggregate, people won't travel more than 20 minutes to go to the gym. I mean, obviously some will, but for the most part, they won't. And so there might be one or only a few options servicing like a reasonably large location. The fact that you are not over busy and that your gym and you are not bursting at the seams with this massive advantage actually tells you that you are not that good at marketing. But a lot of trainers are hit with I don't know what's the right word for it. God, I wish Calvin slept last night. I'd probably be able to think better. A lot of trainers are hit with this false confidence.
Right.
And it's a big problem because when they go online and all of a sudden now they don't have location bias and they actually need to differentiate themselves and give people a reason to choose them over anybody else, literally anybody else, they're just simply not able to do it. They realize that they're just not as good as they thought that they were. They might be good once they have somebody in front of you, but the reality of it is the majority of your job is getting somebody in front of you and giving them enough confidence to listen to you. Like, once you got that buy-in, a trainer's job is much easier, right? And I mean, true masters, obviously, like, mastery shows up in a lot of trainers in the gym, but like, that upfront work is stuff that most trainers in the gym simply never have to do.
Right.
And they underestimate it. And then they go online and think, how hard could this be? And they try to DIY it, and then they're like, holy crap, this is hard, because you never actually had to work before on any of your marketing and client acquisition. People kind of came to you, or the other piece of it is you take for granted just how much work you did without knowing it. Like, if you've been in a gym for a couple years and you've been kind of just physically showing up in a gym training clients for a couple years, you have marketed all of those hours. There's no better marketing than being with a client, having a good time on the gym floor and having other people notice. Well, nobody watches you train an online client. Meaning that now you actually have to replace all of that work that you've been doing for years and start new, effectively from scratch.
Right.
And you don't, it's like having a baby. You forget what the first 2 years were like. Or else you never do it again.
Ain't that the truth?
Oh my God. So that's probably one of the best things that you've ever said here, Jonathan.
So relatable.
Right. I don't even have kids, but I believe that I was a baby at one time. But the other thing that I like that you just said was about how in the online space, like, you take for granted that you've been marketing the whole time.
Yes.
You've been branding the entire time you were on the gym floor, and nobody knows about it now. And nobody can see you doing that now. So now you have to actively do something to brand yourself. I want to go over to Keto because she's there, number one. And I haven't talked to her recently, and I miss Keto. So,
Right.
So Keto, you're very loyal to your niche. Like, do you ever feel crazy like a wild? And you're like, you know what? I want to start going after 40-year-old Caucasian businessmen. That's what I'm going to do today for my niche. I'm gonna talk about testosterone and bench press day.
Yes.
Like you ever feel like that? Yeah, I just need to get away from this whole my tribe thing. It's a waste of time. Goodman doesn't know what he's talking. He's washed up. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's a hack.
I am basically a grandfather when it
You're
comes
basically
to
a
online.
granddad now,
When
Jonathan.
you consider that the market turns over every year and a half, 2 years or so,
Oh man,
I'm actually a great grandfather. I've been through about 4 generations of this.
you're Methuselah.
Like,
Methuselah at this point, Jonathan.
people who I've trained have now trained other people who have trained other people who are now selling their business coaching. Like, it's at that point now. Which is why I'm so goddamn bitter. I'm that old man on a rocking chair on a couch saying, "Get off my lawn, kids."
Effectively, that's exactly what you are at this
know,
point, Jonathan.
I know.
I mention your name to the students sometimes. They're like, "Who?" I'm like Jonathan Goodman. He created PTTC. I thought Amber created it. Like these are the things that I get from people. Like
Well, no,
you're
no, no,
so
no, no.
far
I think
removed.
She did. That's a good lesson. She did the work.
Right, she did the work. He created it.
But she is not credited with the work.
Oh God, the way you're so shameless about it too, like it hits differently, man.
And that's what I love about it. That's why I allow it, because he means to be this way. Like, this is intentional. There's no room for intervention with Jonathan because he means to be this person. You're wasting your breath.
We've talked about honesty before and how I believe in never lying, like not even white lies, and how I'm always going to tell the truth. But like, I am telling the truth here, but because I have a laugh track behind me,
Right.
it comes off different.
It's a lot easier.
This is
a lot
how
easier
you
to
play
You're
the
accept.
welcome.
game. This is how you play the game.
You are welcome.
It's a lot. I often think that he only created the podcast to expose his truths in an environment that would be non-judgmental.
With us as enablers, yes.
Right, with
yes.
us as enablers, so to be more palatable for the listening audience. When effectively he's just going around, utilizing people for their strengths. And,
I created the podcast because I needed some sort of a fun release in my day
here
because
we
I find that
are.
it makes me so much better at everything else.
well, you're welcome.
You're welcome.
But Keto,
Yes.
So you're loyal to your tribe.
Yes.
That's who you talk to.
Right.
Have you found that? Did you have a process getting there in the online space, or did you just not ever try to make something up that wasn't real? Like, what was
No,
Okay.
exactly. I think like I talked about it a little bit on the last episode or the one before, and it was just like that, like depending on where I am in my life stage,
Right.
that tends to be the people that I resonate with. So when I was into being, a mom of younger kids or babies and all that stuff, that was my crowd because that was the world that I was immersed in.
Mm-hmm.
But now that my kids are, school aged and a little bit older, then and I'm more business focused, then I just jive better with business women because that's my space now, and the spaces that I occupy online, the groups that I join, that reflects my interest. So we just get along better, like the flow is better. And and probably like I honestly like legitimately have zero interest in working with men, like ever. I mean, no offense, dudes, but it's just like I can't, you
don't blame
can't
you,
joke the same.
Yeah.
You can't fully be your own woman in a space that is occupied by men that are paying for your services, because it's it can be like a really weird dynamic. And I think any women listening right now knows exactly what I mean.
Right.
So I have no interest in that, and that's okay. There's other people who take on that target market.
You can be, Carolina, you can be your own woman around me.
Thank you. Around you guys, yes, I can.
I am
now,
okay that you are your own woman.
Oh,
and that
thank
wear
you
the
for
same
giving me
dress every
permission.
single day, and it's disgusting. And I'm okay with I'm okay with just moths following you everywhere you go, and it's okay. It's okay.
Respect
It's
your
Thank
autonomy
you.
here. It's what
Thank
we do.
you.
for you to do that in case you needed that permission.
Right.
Kettle loves it when men give her permission to do things. It's just-
Right.
yeah,
Yes.
it's the-
I mean, I just sit around in a corner waiting for that. Yes, exactly.
I hope Jonathan gives me some permission tomorrow. I've often heard her say,
No, now that being said, for the next time that I launch a program, I do try, like I'm always up for experimenting. And so
Right.
the next program that I have coming up, I am planning on actually kind of like releasing it for everyone and whoever, and it's more like nutrition oriented and it's more like family based, so I don't need
Okay.
to necessarily gender it, because in some families that I know, it's the man actually who does the cooking.
Right.
So I don't know, I'll let you know what turns out with that, because it's more, again, this doesn't involve my one-on-one coaching, so I feel more comfortable, I guess, including men in this, because they don't need my individual attention, and I'm cool with that.
it's exciting. You've got 2 exclusives on this episode of the Online Trainer
Yes,
Show. The
that's right.
software's in later stages of production, and Keto's going to interact with the entire population. We'll see how that goes.
Yep.
One other thing that I wanted to mention in the conversation, the context of this conversation, which I've forgotten already, is as I was talking about it, it left my brain. It must not need to be said. So I'll skip over it. If I come to it, we'll do a post about it. How about that?
Sounds good.
So, this episode, we've tried to sort of help you understand the subtle differences of the online version of your business versus the in-person version of your business. We hope we've made some sense here that allows you to take those next steps. There's some things that you might have to leave behind in the in-person space for a little bit to be able to grow your online space, and that's okay. And both can coexist, and then they probably should, especially if you're working hybrid. So I guess what we need to do now is do the show notes, I guess. The show notes, I'm rambling now because I want that thought to come back, because I feel like it was so amazing what I was going to say, but it was probably going to be crap. So it's probably universe saving me from myself. Show notes can be found at onlinetrainer.com/podcast. And I'm sure we'll have some exhilarating and just exciting show note items in there. I can see Amber's wheels turning as she's thinking of all the amazing show note items that she's going to place in these show notes for you. Maybe a few games. That would be nice. Can you put a game in there for folks to play, Amber? Think amongst yourself. No need to talk. I'm not listening. Jonathan Goodman has given us great insight on very little sleep. I think that's otherworldly what you've been able to do today, Jonathan. You're actually less...
It's a 3 coffee type day for me.
Yeah, you're actually less coherent when you sleep well. This is the most coherent we've seen you through an entire show.
It's
Very
because I'm
much on
excited.
task.
You know what it is? It's because I'm fired up after we're getting this prototype going. You do
Yeah,
not
I'm
have
excited.
any
Aw,
idea just
nice.
how much work we do behind the scenes to really nail down these problems. Before we put a single piece of code down or product together or anything, we do so much painful work, expensive work, time-consuming work behind the scenes to say how can we give you precisely what you need and nothing more. And we're now we're moving with it now. I'm psyched, man. That's why.
Very nice. Very nice.
Also 3 coffees.
Yeah, right.
He's awake.
I never want the audience, the listeners, to pity us, but this is it's almost rivals the amount of work that we put into every episode of this podcast, Jonathan. You guys are nearly
it's
working.
a year. It's a year of the podcast today.
Oh, it's a year today. Oh, happy birthday to the podcast.
Yay.
Let's sing happy
to
birthday.
us.
Let's sing happy birthday in a Marilyn Monroe raspberry. Happy birthday.
I don't feel comfortable with it.
Mr. Podcast.
I feel deeply uncomfortable with what's going on right now.
Mr. Podcast.
Feliz cumpleaños a ti, feliz cumpleaños a ti.
Thank you, that's
que
much
lo
better.
pases muy feliz.
It's much better.
What's the super annoying piñata song?
Yeah.
Oh, dale, 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 no pierdas el tino, porque si lo pierdes, pierdes el camino.
Yeah, that's the one.
Did you say El Camino? Is the piñata
Yeah.
in the back of a car?
No, but
Oh, okay. Camino means something else.
yeah, road.
Well, jolly
the way.
good birthday show, guys. Way to go. Of course, it will not be our birthday when people hear this. It'll be 2 weeks after our birthday. But I'm glad that we notified the general public that 2 weeks ago, it was the birthday of the podcast. Way to go, guys. You'll need a DeLorean to get back in time to celebrate the birthday with us. And you'll have to get it up to 88 miles
I'm
per hour.
taking a birthday picture of our screen. Ready?
Take-
Everybody
take
smile.
a
1,
birthday.
2, 3.
Yay.
Okay, I'll post it later.
Post it later. This has been the online.
Carolina, can you tag me? Because I need for followers.
No. Oh my God.
I'm gonna be like, who's this stranger? Get him off his screen.
Oh my God. Jonathan Shea, for God's sakes. You're making a mockery of the show now.
My body, my business.
More than it is.
It's just way too thick. So do the jingle. It's wrapped up. Do the
Jingle me timbers.
Jingle. Oh, I'm so
No,
mad
that's
that you gotta say
mine.
it. I'm so mad that you gotta say it.
I am stealing that from you.
Oh, Keto, that's cultural appropriation, by the way.
I'm a culture vulture, baby.
You're not a pirate.
Oh, you're doing so well right now. I hate it.
I'm leaving now.
This is the online trainer show. Trainer show. Trainer show. This is the online trainer show. We shouldn't have a podcast.